Hi folks, so I've decided to do this Unbox Your Deck challenge for September, and as you can see it's hosted by Botanical Cowboy Tarot and Samantha Reenwright, I think that's how you pronounce it, and it's a way of getting to know your deck. So I thought it'd be a good way to get to know a new deck, and let's begin. Okay, so the first prompt is, what deck did you decide to work with? So this is the deck, Bright Future Tarot. Is it a tarot or oracle deck? Is it a tarot deck? Who made the deck? And that was Saskia Lee. So that's the first prompt. Second prompt. How is this deck similar or different from other decks you own? And why did you choose to buy this deck? The reason I bought this deck is the art style, because it is different to any of the other decks that I own. In art style, it's quite unpolished, raw type of deck, made with acrylics, as you can see. And I haven't got any other decks that have this sort of art style, so that's why. And another reason that I'm interested in this deck is because it's come from a different perspective. Saskia Lee is a psychic clairvoyant, and so she has a different take really on tarot, and I'm interested to explore that, so that's why. And the next prompt, find your favourite non-standard or unique cards that differ from what is considered traditional in terms of name, meaning or archetype. So that is, as I said before, that's the main reason that I bought this deck. So let's find some examples of that. So let's start with the High Priestess, or in this deck it's called the Oracle. So we've got two sides here. We've got normal life, so we've got an open window with a rooftop view. We've got a clock, it's got musical symbols on it, and it says trust. We've got a bird in a cage with the door open and a cat trying to reach for it. So various figures. We've got a native Indian on horseback by the looks of things. I think that's a fox. Mobile phone. We've got two people in an embrace. Got a mouse in cheese. So every day, that is depicting the everyday. And then if we turn the card to that side, then we've got the cycles of the moon there, and a night sky, and a rainbow coloured figure. So that's one example. Let's find another. Let's go to the cup suit. Okay, it's not favourite. I'm going to say no, not favourite. We've got the 2 and the 3 of the cups here. I'll just zoom in. That seem a little bit different to me. So the 2 of cups here, we've got attraction and bonding, and in the 3 we've got marriage and commitment. So that's a little bit of a different take, isn't it? Because normally we've got a choice, or we've got 2 figures standing one, facing each other. Here we've got like a steamy relationship, because we've got steam coming from the cups, and so that might not last very long. So that's just the initial attraction, and then as we progress on the suit, we've come to marriage and commitment. So it's different. That is different. And even on the 4 of cups, we've got 4 upturned and downturned cups for rejection and self-pity, instead of the guy under the tree refusing to take the cup that's offered to him. In the 5 of cups, completely different. Atmosphere and portal. 5 wine cocktail glasses, wine glasses, I don't know. Couple of candles. We've got a pendulum crystal, a feather. We've got pentagram. So it looks like some sort of magic has been happening here, and they've gone through the portal, almost like Alice through the looking glass there. So that's very different to a normal Five of Cups that we see. Let's go to the swords. Yeah, this is a card that's quite triggering, I think. So instead of the figure with the two swords holding and her eyes blindfolded, in this case the mouth is forcibly closed. We've got the two swords as earrings, so they're there, but yeah, completely different. I'll just have a look at the pentacles. So the Five of Pentacles there, change and disruption. So again, a different type of image, although the same meaning. And here we've got the Five Pentacles are the roots or the bulbs of the flowers. And here we've got the change where a dandelion changes form and then blows away to wishes. So I always see this as a lucky plant. You know, you blow when you make a wish. That's what we did as children. But here it's, yes, it's changed because the dandelion does change in the seasons, in its own seasons. But disruption, I don't know, seems different. So the Six of Pentacles, this is quite different because normally we've got a figure giving out coins to the 6 coins to beggars, whereas here we've got 2 figures, one each side of a running river, and the pentacles are stepping stones across. We've got this guy reaching out, so one's giving, one's receiving, but over a rapid flowing river. So yeah, that's quite different. The 4th prompt, flip through the guidebook randomly and pull the card that corresponds to the page that you land on. So I'll quickly do that. Oh, we've got the Queen of Swords. So let's have a look at the Queen of Swords. There she is, Queen of Swords, and it says independent. So this is a figure walking down the runway very confidently, with figures watching her from the sidelines. She is the main attraction. And the keywords: divorced, widowed, separated, single woman. Well, we do get that in Rider-Waite-Smith meaning for the Queen of Swords. We've also got independent, unbiased logic, clear boundaries and clear communication. So maybe that's telling me I've got to try and clearly communicate what I'm saying on this video. And so there's an instruction, I think, for me, because people are going to be watching, hopefully, watching the video. And my personal, independent, unbiased, logical exploration of this deck. Okay, so those are the first 4 prompts. Right, let's do the next few prompts that are based on your birth chart. So the prompt number 5, find the major arcana card that represents your sun sign. Well, I'm a Sagittarian, so it's Temperance. Okay, so this is the Temperance card. Maintaining balance. So we've got someone here making cocktails, and we've got healthy produce. We've got watermelon, some sort of citrus, orange or satsuma maybe, some lemon, some lime, some mint, and a stirring spoon, and they're mixing it with alcohol. So that's the balance there between the 2 options, alcohol and fresh fruit, to make something else. So individually they're different to what they are combined. So this is one of my lessons for this lifetime, is to try and maintain a healthy balance in all things. It's not just food, is it? It's in life. So So that's Sagittarius. So the next prompt, find the major arcana that represents your moon sign. And my moon sign is, I'm a Libra, and that corresponds to justice, which in some decks is card number 11, but in this deck by Saskia, it is number 8. And it's all about karma and the legal system. So there she is, justice with her scales and her sword, high up in the sky, looking down on us, judging us. Anyway, so that's my moon sign. So trying to keep everything in balance with the scales, just like temperance, really. Find the major arcana that represents your rising sign. My rising sign, I'm a Taurus, so that would be the Hierophant, which is 5th card in the major arcana. This is beautiful. Here we've got a young monk. A beautiful mandala in the background. Look at that. Between these pillars. And there's a light shining down behind. And he's got a singing bowl in front. And it says divine wisdom. So it's reaching for that higher self, that knowledge that is not of this earthly plane. Isn't that lovely? Okay. Find the major arcana card that represents your birth card. And there's a link there to tarotschool.com/calculator.html where you can actually work out what your birth card is. And my birth card is 13, which also adds up to 4. So I've got 2 birth cards. I've got Death and the Emperor. The Emperor in this deck is about masks. It's about, well, it says leadership and structure, but I suppose it means you have to be many things to many people within your life. So you can't just be one person. It depends the situation that you're in. And it's strategy there, look. Never could play chess. My grandfather tried to teach me and I was like, no, can't do it. It's too many different things to think about. Can't do it. So, no. So, and then the other one is Death, which is obviously all about change, endings, transformation. And we've got here a lovely death mask with what looks like a crystal in the third eye. And my life has been about endings and transformations many, many times. So, yeah. Okay. Then it's number 9. Find the minor arcana card that represents your sun sign, and then there's a link to thothblogs.blogspot.com/2018/12/deacon wheel.html, and that's where you can use the calculator there, or the chart, to actually find out, oh, it's a deacon wheel, so that's to find out what it is. And for me it's the 9 of Wands, which is all about resilience. And she's standing there in a fort, guarding the territory, looking out, making sure everything's okay, being on guard. I decided, in my infinite wisdom, to go one step further with these birth cards, with this 5 through 9. I thought it would be interesting to actually look at Mary K. Greer's book, because it is one of the very first books I ever purchased, actually, back in the 80s. And it's this one, it's Tarot for Yourself by Mary K. Greer. And she does a tarot profile, which many people have adapted. And the instructions give several cards to look at. So your personality and soul cards. Then your year card for the current year, your zodiac card, and your persona card, potential, personal potential, inner teacher, and mode of expression in the world. And that makes up your tarot profile. So you've got little charts here you can actually fill in if you want to write actually in the book, which I never do. I'm not into doing that. And to find out what these cards are, you use a numerical system to add them up. So for example, your personality and soul cards. So to determine these two cards, you add together your month, date and year of your birth, and she gives an example there. So if you were born on October the 14th, 1947, you would add up 10 for the month, 14 for the day, 1947 for the year. That adds up to 1971. And then you add each digit till you get a double digit that corresponds to the major arcana, and that's any number from 22 to 1, 22 being the full, because the full comes at 0 and at 22. And that resulting number is your personality number. So for this person here, 18, it would be the moon. Okay, so that's pretty straightforward. So I added mine up, and wouldn't you know it, it's 22. And 22 is a little bit different, because she says, if your birthday adds up to 22, you have a number of great impulsiveness and great mystery, a fine line to balance. 22 represents 0, the Fool, and reduces to 4, the Emperor. And we had the Emperor before, didn't we? But in this case, 4, the Emperor, is the personality card, and the Fool is the soul card. So those are mine, personality and soul cards. So the Fool, innocence, of course there's a dog. We've got the guy there going for it, jumping off the cliff. Let's see where we land. And we're all about, oh, well I am, I'm all about looking at new things. I get quite excited about new things. So yeah, that's cool, isn't it? I like that one. And we already looked at the Emperor, I think. Yeah, again, structure, so that's reinforced that message. Then we go on to the Zodiac card. Again, this is Sagittarius, so again, this is Temperance, and she's quite helpfully actually put it there. So that was that Temperance card, the cocktail card. Okay, so your numerological lessons and opportunity cards are the 4 minor arcana cards of each suit, which got the same number as your soul number. So my soul number, if we go back, was a 4. So my lessons and opportunity cards will be the 4 of Wands, 4 of Cups, 4 of Swords, and 4 of Pentacles. Okay, so shall we have a little look at those? So lessons and opportunities. So we've got some cards here that are challenging, and we've got some cards here that are opportunities. So let's look at the challenges. Or maybe you could see them all as opportunities and as challenges, really. So the challenge to find a comfortable home. You know, we start off alone, and then this is how we progress, isn't it? We maybe meet somebody and want to settle down with them. So that could be an opportunity or a challenge, depending on your viewpoint and depending on your experience. 4 of Cups, rejection and self-pity could follow on, really, couldn't it? You know, if you've fallen in love with somebody and they reject you, then you're going to feel self-pity and feel like your cups aren't available. They're downturned. You're just not available for anything coming in. The 4 of Swords, solitude and sanctuary. Well, maybe it's not a good idea to be alone for too long. Time out, but not for too long. And then 4 of Pentacles, stability and status. So I think that might be a little bit about self-worth. how we view ourselves and how we want the world to view us. So that could be a challenge, but it could be an opportunity to shine. So those are the Zodiac lessons and opportunity cards. And then the 3 minor arcana cards, which correspond with your astrological sun sign. So mine is Sagittarius. So she gives a handy chart here. So for me, Sagittarius is 8, 9 and 10 of Wands. And I was actually born on the 5th of December, so my main one is that 9 of Wands, which we looked at before. So they do correspond, don't they? They agree. So we've got the 8, the 9 and the 10 of Wands. So again, more lessons and more opportunities with these cards. So how to instigate and maintain momentum, keep it going. And you get these very Sagittarian arrows here. And also Sagittarius is half horse, half man. So that's quite indicative of the star sign. But yeah, we start off with a lot of momentum, but I think that the challenge is to maintain that momentum and to carry on through, to be resilient and to have strength and fortitude in ourselves, and then not to be overburdened and not to feel like we're carrying too much, to know when to let go of certain things or when to release expectations, either expectations I've got of myself or of other people that then you might see will let you down because they can't meet your expectations, and so you feel you've got to do it all yourself. So yeah, that's just a little thought. You might view those differently, but I'm just going with my instincts at the moment. I'm not even looking at the book. Okay, and then we've got your destiny card, and that actually corresponds to your actual birth date, and that, as I said, was the 9 of Wands, resilience. So that's my destiny, my fundamental impulses, desires and reactions as an individual. And it also got a book list at the end of every chapter. It's really good, this book. Then persona. They're the 3 cards based on correspondences between the court cards and your natal horoscope chart. So you need to know your sun, your moon, rising signs to find out which these cards are. So then once you've found those, then you can actually find the corresponding cards from this little chart here. So my sun sign is Sagittarius, so my personal potential card is the Knight of Wands. My inner teacher type card is the court card corresponding to the sun sign in your moon. My moon is in Libra, and that corresponds to the Queen of Swords, independent. And your mode of expression in the world is indicated by the court card corresponding to your rising sign, your ascendant. My rising sign is Taurus, and so my mode of expression in the world can be described by the King of Pentacles. Okay, so those are the 3 cards that my personal potential is to get going, speed, inspiration, to be inspired. My inner teacher is how to be independent, to learn how to be independent, to learn how to shine on my own. And my expression in the world is the King of Pentacles, which is a businessman. So that's saying to me, just looking at it like that, businessman, independent and inspiration and speed, that maybe I should have my own business and not work for somebody else. Okay. The next prompt, prompt number 10, find any cards you identify with and feel a connection to. And I chose these 4 cards. Now then, why? Well, the Hermit. I always feel a connection to the Hermit, and it goes back to Sunday school, because we were sent to Sunday school and Tuesday club at our local chapel when we were children, and there was a poster, and it was Holman Hunt's The Light of the World. I'll put an image of it up here. So it's an image I was really, really familiar with, and the Hermit always reminds me of that picture. And also I love Pre-Raphaelites. I think maybe that's where the love for Pre-Raphaelites came from in the first place. I don't understand this. I don't know what this is here. I don't understand what it is. The Hermit is obviously lighting the way up a path, a well-trodden path up to a castle here, which is higher knowledge, mountains representing obstacles along the way. And it's a beautiful image. Lanterns glowing, seclusion and slow progress. Now, the thing that I have noticed with the cards that I pulled was seclusion, because although this one, the Nine of Pentacles, is about abundance and security, there's nobody there. It's an open door, but there's nobody there. And looking in the book, the nines are connected. So the 9 opens the door here onto this vista. And then the sun, I love this. Who wouldn't? You know, sitting on the beach in a comfy chair, reading a good book, sun's out, poppy in your hat. No, it's a sunflower. A sunflower in your hat. Children playing. The sound of happy people splashing about. Lovely. Harmony, bliss. So again, it's a little bit secluded, isn't it? It's a little bit, you're in your own world, even though you're in the world. And then this one again, solitude and sanctuary. Again, another girl reading a book. I do like reading books, and undisturbed. And there's a warning there. On page 79, this stood out. Okay, about the Sun card, as a warning really. It says, when we are in a state of bliss and contentment, we wish to stay there. Only life is not static. Life perpetually changes and demands that we change with it, or suffer. We can't stay in this state of bliss forever, as at some point we have to come home from our holidays, pay our bills, go to work and deal with real life. So in this way, the Sun shows us that whatever is perfect or easy is subject to change. Even the most wonderful of jobs, relationships, homes or creations demand change to keep them fresh and alive. So I think there's a warning there in the cards that actually I find drawn to and attracted to are static. So that's something to actually think about, maybe to journal about. So that is quite a teacher. And then the cards that you dislike, either based on the names or the imagery, why do they put you off, and is there potential shadow work there? Well, actually it's the aesthetics that are putting me off the cards that I've chosen. I don't like the way the colours clash. They're very jarring. I find them really jarring. And that's the Three of Wands. It's so mixed up, my eyes are trying to focus on something and they're going all over the place. There's clashing colours, and the same here, clashing colours. I don't like. And I don't know, I'm not keen on this one. I'm not keen on the way it's been interpreted actually as marriage and commitment, which I mentioned earlier. You know, you give flowers to woo somebody, don't you? I mean, you have flowers in your bouquet if you're getting married. But yeah, I don't quite get that. So that's why I dislike those cards. I don't think there's any shadow work there. I just think it's the imagery that puts me off. Pure and simple. Prompt number 12. A card that makes you think of someone you know. So, I've got 3. The first one is the Emperor, and that just reminds me of politicians. Now maybe that's in reference to the Osho Zen Tarot, which is the first tarot I learned with. I'll try and find that an image of that card and put it up for you to compare, which is very similar to this image. And it's what's behind the mask that matters, really, isn't it? It's not what is presented to the world, it's who they really are, and they don't always present themselves, our leaders, authentically. So that's what that reminds me of. Well, that's who that reminds me of. This one is a funny story, and it relates to one of my nieces, and it's to do with this doing what you're not supposed to be doing, and that's what she did. One time we were, well, the story is we'd broken down on the motorway. I was in the car with her and her parents, my sister and her husband, and we'd broken down on the motorway, and we got towed off to a garage after a while. Took a while, and then while they were doing the paperwork, her parents were doing the paperwork in the garage office for a car to replace the one that we'd broken down in. For some reason, we were sat by petrol pumps, and she'd found a box of matches in the car and proceeded to actually strike them one by one as we were next to petrol pumps, and looking at me in defiance, daring me to do something about it. So that's what that reminds me of. Yes, I'm never going to forget that, actually, am I? And then this one reminds me of her sister, actually. This little... Well, no, this is when she was young, and she used to do her handstands and her cartwheels in the garden and, oh, watch me, look what I'm doing, look here. And we tried to talk to her mum, my sister, and she was constantly wanting attention for me to see how clever she was. And she was very clever. I'm not sure if she still does it to this day because she's a teenager, but yes, that's what that reminds me of. A card is the next prompt, prompt 13, a card that reminds you of a special place. And I'm going with Judgment here because that and the Hermit, actually. Let's find that card and I'll tell you why. Here we go, the Hermit. Those two cards, and it's about the same place, actually. This reminds me of a plane ride, plane going over mountains, and I was looking down out of the window. I was looking down out of the window of the plane, and I could see the mountain ranges underneath, and it was absolutely magical, and that reminds me of that. And then it was a cruise. I went on a cruise around the Mediterranean, and one of those hop-on, hop-off buses, and so I was looking at the architecture in one particular place, and there was a figure with the scales and on the top of one of the buildings, and it was absolutely beautiful. So that actually reminds me of that cruise, part of it. I'll see if I can find photos. I might have photos, you never know. A card that reminds you of a dream you've had. Well, for this, again, I've got 2 cards here, and this one is because it reminds me of a meditation, a visualization that I experienced a long time ago, actually, but it's one that stayed with me. And in that meditation, we floated in the stars as part of it, and we were weightless. It was a very moving experience, it really was. It's one that stayed with me. And then this one. And this was an actual dream that this card reminds me of, where I was on a horse galloping on Perranporth Beach. And for some reason, to the left side of me in my peripheral vision, there were a copse of trees, like a wood, and I could sense movement in there. And when I looked, there was what appeared to be an Native American Indian on a black horse. And we stared at each other, and he trotted along. His horse next to mine looked at me, and without a signal, we both started galloping across the sands. So that reminds me of that dream. Galloping horse. So next is a card that describes how you feel today. Indecision and priorities. Well, the indecision comes from knowing what to prioritise, to be honest. I've got a lot of things that need my attention, and I want to give the best to what I'm doing in everything that I'm doing, and that takes time. And so I've got to prioritise what needs to come first, really. So that's how I'm feeling, and I've been feeling like that for a couple of weeks, not just today. And then the next prompt is a card that describes how you want to feel. And this is the card. It's beautiful, isn't it? I love the way that the actual animal is part of the girl, so it's both sides of a personality. Wild and tamed. But for me, it's having strength, the actual strength itself. I want to feel strong inside. Mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, all of it. I just want to feel strong. And that's what I'm aiming for. Inner strength. The next prompt. A card, this is prompt 17. A card that has your favourite colour. Well, this is one of my favourite colours, and the other is blue. And it's got a lot of beautiful blues in the card. But I thought I chose this one. I'd show this Seven of Swords. This is a very unusual card. I mean, if we go back to another of the prompts, let me see which it was. Prompt 3, find your favourite non-standard or unique cards. Well, actually, this would be one of them, because I really don't see how the imagery relates to the Seven of Swords, as I understand it. I wouldn't want to be swimming through those jellyfish. That would be quite challenging. One, because I can't swim. There's an admission. And two, because you get stung quite easily. I mean, how would you manoeuvre through that without getting stung? But maybe that's the message. Maybe it is, someone's out to sting you. So that could be the message. But going back to the colours, I like the way the orange and the blue and the purple, I love these colours together. Absolutely beautiful. So that is that prompt. Okay. And the next prompt, a card that reminds you of a movie. Well, this one reminds me of Harry Potter, this magician. And I suppose at the beginning, when the owl first delivers the message, right, in the very first film, it is showing us that Harry Potter, although he was stuck under the staircase in a cupboard, had the potential to be the magician at Hogwarts. And it was a new beginning for him. So, yeah, I think that really reminds me of Harry Potter, the first movie. Well, all of them, really, because it's quite apt. And then this one, the Queen of Swords, reminds me of The Devil Wears Prada. That whole fashion industry thing, the whole film about the fashion industry and the way they view themselves and what they feel is important and relevant. So that's one. The movie that reminds me of, a card that reminds you of a book you've read. Now then, that'll be the image here on the Wheel of Fortune, because it reminds me of a circus for some reason. It really reminds me of a circus. Yes, we've got lions in a cage here. We've got some books here, and we've got lots of choices. Anything could happen. And this reminds me of the night circus. I'll put an image of the book I'll include an image of that book, but that's what that reminds me of. It's a really good book. And by the by, she's bringing out a tarot deck based on the book, so that I have pre-ordered. So if it's as good as the book, it'll be amazing. And then prompt 20, a card that reminds you of a TV show, and that's this one. And this reminds me of Sex in the City. Didn't we all just love that TV series? Carrie and her friends, Samantha especially. I loved her character. She was my favourite actually out of the four, Samantha. But yeah, Sex in the City. So that's those prompts. Okay, so the next 5 prompts are inspired by Tom Benjamin's book, Tarot on Earth, and they're to find real world representations of cards in each suit and in the major arcana. And these are the ones I chose. So for the ones I chose the 3, and this reminded me of creative artists like Jason Pollock, who, I don't know, they put the canvas on the floor, throw paint on it, make art out of chaos, really. And I suppose that's what creativity is about, really. It's just letting things be free to be what they are. And I think here someone's experimenting with different shapes and different colours and how they interact and what works and what doesn't. So that's all part of the creative process, is to discover what works and what doesn't, really. So this 10 of Swords, endings and grief, the real world representation of that, I would say, is the monument we have in Nuki. Here's a picture I took of it. So as you can see, there's poppy wreaths at the bottom. There's a plaque for those that have fallen in, gave their lives in the wars, and also for people lost at sea. And it stands quite prominent. If I've got any more. Got one with a crow on top. Yep, the crow on the top. So yeah, it is quite awe-inspiring. So that's what the 10 of Swords reminds me of. The 6 of Cups. So a real world representation of the 6 of Cups, nostalgia and cleansing. Well, what came to mind for this is because it's that time of year right now when young men and women are departing for university and the next stage of their lives. And there's a syndrome, isn't there, called empty nest syndrome, and that's what that card reminds me of, missing your offspring when they leave home. And you've got cups full of memories, and your kitchen is clean now because they're not there to mess it up anymore. So that's what that reminds me in a real world situation. And then the 7 of Pentacles, work and productivity. Well, that reminds me of factory workers and assembly lines. So you're very good at doing your part of the assembly, and then you pass it on to the next guy who does their part of their assembly until it goes all the way down the line and we have a finished product, in this case honey. So those are my answers to those questions. So let's have a look at the next prompt. Find a real world representation of a card in the major arcana. So what did I choose for this one? Well, I guess it's that one. Nothing to say there, really, is there? It's a real world event. And I don't think any of us have really gotten over it. No matter where we are in the world, it has affected us in the way we travel. So that is a very real world representation. Pull a card from the deck to use it as an inspiration for a photo. So let's go back to that Ten of Swords, and I've taken a photograph of a very similar structure, a bridge that goes over the River Gannel, and it's actually starting to rot and it's going to be replaced very soon. So that's an ending, and it would, you know, if somebody was to have an accident trying to cross it while it's still quite damaged, then obviously that could bring some grief, couldn't it? Especially as the River Gannel is tidal and that current is very, very strong. And if you go over to the other side while the tide's out, as it starts coming in, it gets really like muddy and, you know, almost pulls your feet in. And I have experienced that, and it's quite scary, running across to try and get onto the second bridge before the tide comes in, and that tide comes in very, very quickly. So that's my photo. And then we've got pull a card from the deck and write a poem in the form of your choice. This lady here, the Queen of Pentacles. So let's put that down and zoom in, and then I'll read you my poem. So my poem for the Queen of Pentacles. I have some moments to spare, so I reach for my needle, my thread. Then I sit and reflect in my favourite chair by the soft window light and bow my head to the task I willingly vow to complete. This blanket I sew for you, my family, made up of patches, each one unique, that together will bring comfort and harmony. Each patch has a story I hand down to you. This one's for security, this one's for love. I build with each stitch a story that's true, to wrap you in ancestry, the wisdom we wove for you who come after, and ones we can't know, to teach you our history as each stitch is a part of me. For to know me is to know yourself. That was my little poem. And the next prompt is to pull a card from the deck and write a setting, backstory or plot. And for this one I chose the Four of Wands. And it's quite short, but this is what I wrote for my little backstory. This is our happy place. It's where we come to be alone together, away from our parents. There's only us two here. No distractions, no demands from our friends, or work, or families. It might not look like very much to you, but this tiny tent means everything to us. We feel safe here, safe to share our dreams of the future, to the day we're together as a couple in our own home, picket fence and everything. We can choose our furniture, the carpets, the curtains. We'll have a real kitchen where we can invite other couples to join us for dinner parties and chat about our children. The family we will one day have, a part of him and a part of me. New life born out of our love for each other. But for now we have this moment. Here we build our bonds to each other, bonds that will see us through any difficulties that may come. In a few hours it may get too chilly, so we'll go our separate ways until we meet here again. Prompt 29 is pull a card from the deck and recreate it in your own way. It can be a drawing, a collage, a written description. And I decided, I mean that looks like a portal, doesn't it? I decided that because that's quite a distinct pattern going around, I'd use my spirograph. Do you remember spirographs? This is my spirograph. Hold up. Here we go. Rings within rings to make patterns. And we've got a little book. It's really antique, this is. I had one when I was a little girl. 2 and 6. How to draw a spirograph. So you can make patterns, you see? There's different ways you can make patterns. So I had to play with that and made a complete mess, I'm going to admit, but I don't care. I had real fun doing it, and I'll show you what I did. Hold on. The blue cat. No, not that one. That one. But it's very sparkly. But as you can see, the watercolour bled out in places, and it all just went its own way. So it was a bit, should we say, abstract, like a certain card I described earlier. What was it? It was a 3. Yeah, the 3 of Wands. So that's my 3 of Wands there. Although I was trying to do a 6 of Swords, I ended up doing a 3 of Wands. But it's very creative. But yeah, I started off with structure using the spirograph wheels, and then I ended up making a complete mess because I used a medium that does its own thing. It needs a lot of control. These aren't white spaces, by the way. There is paint in there. It's just, can you see it? Little sparkles. If you catch the sparkles. There's like granulated colours there as well. So that was prompt 29. So for the final prompt, find or make a meme that you feel represents your deck and how you feel about it. So I made a meme. This is the meme I made. I don't know if I can fit it on the screen here, but there's a house in Newquay that's got this mural painted on the outside. There we go. I'm able to see it. And I've put on it because they are confined within, this picture's confined within the parameters of the roof and the side of the house, the gable end. And this deck does, although it's Rider-Waite Smith, it's not being confined by those set meanings. It's going its own way. And so I thought, yeah, I won't be confined by your set meaning. So that's my meme. That's how I feel about this deck. And the final prompt. Okay. Unbox your deck challenge. What did I think? Well, I thought it was really good, actually. I think it's a really good initial jumping off point for discovering your deck. And it helped me look in this deck in ways that I wouldn't normally, actually. So there's that. The books that they mentioned I have here. So there's the Tarot Activity book by Andy Matzner. So you could develop those questions using the recommended, well, they weren't recommended, were they? They were just the ones that were inspired them. That's what they say on the sheets. So that's that one, and he has got 3 other books, but this is the one that they were talking about. There's another one called Journaling the Tarot if you're into journaling. Kai, what are you doing? Kai's being Kai. Tarot on Earth, Tom Benjamin. That was the other book. And the thing I really like about this one, big type. Not saying anything, but you know, big type. Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, I would say it is now what, the 24th of September. So, and I didn't rush doing that challenge, to be honest. So you don't need 30 days to do that challenge. You can clump some of those prompts together. I mean, the astrology ones easily clump together. You don't need to do those one day at a time. And in fact, I added to those, didn't I? Because I used Mary Kay Greer's wonderful book. So you could use it as a stepping stone, as a jumping off point, and just add other prompts of your own from other sources. I think I'd recommend that, actually. What I haven't done yet, Kai's moaning because I just leant on him. What I haven't done yet is actually read the accompanying book cover to cover. I've not done that. I haven't had time to do that. I've got loads on. I just went to the relevant cards as and when I wanted a little bit more clarification. I used it that way, but I am going to read it. I'm getting around to it. I'm getting around to it. So many things to do. Real life problems. Challenges. So yeah, I recommend it. What do I think of the deck actually? It's different. I mean, I said at the beginning of the video, the reason I was doing the challenge was to discover this deck, because it really is going its own way. So it's going to be very interesting to read this book and see. Yeah. Heads up, I am actually, and have been since the beginning of September, going along with another challenge. I'm a sucker. I don't know if I'll post it up, if I'll video it up, I'm not sure. The thing about these challenges is it reveals a lot of personal things that you would just journal about or think about or whatever. But this is a social platform, and I have no idea who might watch this now or in the future. And so I don't really want to get too personal. And some of the questions in these challenges, excuse me, can get quite deep. And it's not really for sharing, is it? So, I don't know. I'll see. I might just show what I've done without going too deep. I think maybe that would be the answer to that one. I've, to be honest, re-recorded some of the parts of this challenge because it got deep. And I didn't feel too comfortable sharing some of the triggering cards, like that Two of Swords. That's a very triggering card. So I, you know, a lot of us have got things in the past, you know, not good. So yeah, it's pretty much not for sharing. I don't think it's for journaling, and I do journal sporadically. I don't do it daily. I'm not that focused. Although it probably would help. I don't know. That's a whole nother kettle of fish, isn't it? Do we open up these wounds and examine them, or bury them, or cope the best way we can? I'm going deep again, aren't I? Shush. No. Right, anyway. Yeah, the challenge. Back to the challenge. It was worth doing. I'm really glad I've done it. And there are prompts in there I'll probably use again, and not all of them, but yeah. Interesting. So, until my next little tarot adventure, see ya. Bye, folks. Bye. Oh, do you want to see Kai? Oh, where's the guy? Oh, he's here. Ah. Oh, and look. You see that? Blue bandage? Yes. He's getting warts. And that one on his leg, he keeps licking, and so I've had to cover it up for a while to stop it. Oh, we've got a motorbike. Anyway, enjoy the rest of your September, and I'll see you hopefully in the next video. Okay, bye folks. I am going now. Bye.